John,
Angie.
let me ask you, how do you respond to challenging feedback?
Oh, I love it. I'm always hungry for feedback.
Well, good. And I say this with love. I think your obsession with Taylor Swift is becoming a bit unhealthy.
Oh, okay. I'm listening. I'm listening to your feedback. I'm taking it on board. What I'm hearing is that there's another strong-minded woman in my life and you're feeling threatened.
Oh, they say the meaning of communication is the response that you get. So yeah, sure, John.
I'm glad we cleared that up. Thank you for your feedback.
So are you going to shake it off?
Oh, Angie, I knew you were trouble when you walked in. Sorry, but Miss Swift is my jam.
Oh, Lord. Okay, let's get the show started.
Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie, the show for professional coaches that explores the ins and outs of coaching, from working with clients through to running and marketing your coaching business.
If you're a professional coach who's committed to your own personal and professional growth, cares about making a difference, and wants to have a successful coaching business, you're in the right place.
My name's John Ball.
And I'm Angela Bezignano.
Between us, we have over 50 years of coaching experience and best practices to share with you. From getting started to scaling up your business.
We know what works and what doesn't, as well as what it really takes to have a successful and thriving coaching business.
With new episodes every Wednesday.
Make sure you're subscribed to get them fresh. So you and I have been talking about this. This is something that I think so many coaches fall into. My feeling at the baseline of this is that how you start out as a coach will generally remain how you are as a coach. Even though you gain experience and you live and you learn, I think that if you start out in a space of being a little bit more of the tough love, hi, I'm raising my hand, coach, versus, right? I just want to say that. I'm not saying that people can't change, but I do believe that how you begin is how you continue.
Yeah. I think there's probably some truth to that. And I certainly know that it is possible to change because I think my coaching in early days was less direct. But look, there were reasons for that weren't personality based. And maybe we can get into some of that. But I do believe in direct coaching. I do believe in tough love coaching. I don't believe in being mean to your clients. I'm not for that. And I know there are coaches who do that. And I say no to that. I think that's a good way to lose clients. But I also know there are clients who kind of love that. It's like, yeah, be mean to me, beat me up. It's like, or going to that Dick's Last Resort, to, you know, that chain where you go in and they insult you. The first time I ever went in one of those, with a group of friends, we had no idea what the theme of it was, that they're supposed to be mean to you and insult you. And we walked out. Well, I think that can be what your coaching sessions can end up being like if you're not careful as well. For me, though, I think one of the reasons why I perhaps was maybe a little equivocal, maybe a little diplomatic more than I might want to be on earlier coaching calls was because I was working for another company and representing them. So I had to balance that against how direct I could be with clients and find the ways to allow myself to be more direct with them as well.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I think there's some truth to that, because maybe I'm going to contradict myself, but I think I've always had the mindset of wanting to be challenging to my clients, but I don't know if I actually practiced it as much as I thought I did in the beginning, right? When I first started to actually coach. I think the line comes up in your everyday coaching. You really want to be in this space of bringing people forward, moving them forward. And there's a balance, right? There's a balance of meeting them where they are then versus how much do we want to, I don't want to even use the word push, because to me, when I think of the word push, I envision myself on the edge of a cliff and somebody's pushing me. I don't like it. But if somebody's holding my hand and we have a parachute and they say, okay, are you ready? Let's do this. It seems a lot, I would never do it, by the way. I'm just giving the visual that perhaps if John were holding my hand, I'd be a little bit more willing to jump off the cliff if I knew I had the safety net of somebody there with me.
If I was holding your hand, at least no one would be able to hear your screams above mine. That's the only, that's probably the best I could say for that scenario. But look.
But pushing is scary. So it's just really about finding balance and understanding why you're being direct. Because some coaches, I've been coached this way where they're frustrated because maybe
Mhm.
I'm not moving as quickly as they think I should or could or whatever. And they're pushing, again, Cliff, and then getting frustrated with me. That's
Yeah.
just shit coaching. Sorry.
All right. So why, as coaches, do we want to be direct and even provocative with our clients and give them that tough love that they sometimes need? Why is that important to you?
So here's the thing. I look at the provocation piece differently than I do the tough love. Because for me, when I'm coaching, the provocation is just what I do every single minute of every single session, really. I'm provoking. I am definitely searching for more and going deeper. Tough love is when there's this, for me, okay, this big neon blinking light. And I'm like, well, wait a second. And I pause and I'll call it out and I'll say something to the effect of, do you see? Or can we pause? Like I really try to be super direct in that moment, but I'll call out. And usually that's when I know my client better. So
Yeah.
I know if they're going to be triggered. I know how to manage them or handle them. So for me, provocation is different than tough love.
It's a hard balance to strike sometimes. I remember, I think maybe we brought this up before in one of our conversations, and I forget if we recorded it or not, but I had a client early on in my coaching days when I'd been taken on by a personal development company as one of their lead coaches, where this client was showing up week after week, not having taken any action. And every week it was the same complaint, the same whinging of, oh, I can't do it. And it's the same poor excuses and just not doing the stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, I can't make you do it. And so we have to get that. This has to be you who does this. I can't come and do this with you or do the activity with you. I don't have the time and you don't have the money to afford what that would cost you. So it's not going to happen. It got to a point where it's like, all right, enough of it. And we had,
Mm.
and I did all the things you're supposed to do. I asked for permission. Can we have a real, authentic conversation about it? And she agreed to that. And I gave her the direct feedback and said, look, I really don't see there's any point in you showing up to any more sessions if you're just not going to do the work. Like, why are you paying for coaching just so you can pay for coaching? It's a waste
Yeah.
of half an hour of your time. It's a waste of half an hour of my time. If you want to waste money and have half an hour of my time where we don't do anything and you don't get any results, that's fine. And it went along those sorts of lines. And then she started crying. And so it
Good
was like,
job, John.
yeah,
Bring
yeah,
on the
yay,
tears.
John.
Woohoo!
Yay, John. So it was like, oh, okay, that went really well. So yeah, my first attempt at that sort of tough love coaching on a call like that did not go well. I did end up saying to her, look, I don't think you can be my client anymore. I don't think I can be your coach anymore. Other things happened, which I'm not going to go into now, but it ended up getting a bit nasty. But I still think the feedback was valid. So
Yeah.
it's a weird situation. Now, I don't think everyone is like that particular person. And I certainly
Mhm.
have never had a situation since where people just haven't done anything. And we've had to
Yeah.
have that conversation about why that is and why they need to take
Mm.
responsibility. But I see tough love coaching as being the thing that's like getting to, what's the thing that you're not waking up to? What's the thing like, yeah, you can show up and yeah, there's personal development stuff. 80% of success is just showing up, which I think is a bit BS anyway. And
With you.
it's not just showing up, it's how you show up. It's what you then do, is the action that you take. And
Sure.
that's the stuff that makes the bigger difference, not just getting yourself to a coaching session. You have to want to make change. And if you're not prepared to do that, we have to have a chat about it.
You know what? And I think too, so one of the things that I realized, and I think everything that you just said is definitely on the money. There are definitely the majority of clients, I think, even if it ends up being a good thing, if you're really a great coach, you're extracting things that they're not even aware of. They may come in and say, I don't know, like Michael, like, why are you here? Why are you coaching? And the answer may be that they want to do better as a parent or just create balance. And they have some specifics. And I would say that the beauty of the coaching that I've done, because I am so direct, is that they come out with holy crap moments, like, holy shit, where did that come from? Well, I didn't create it, right? We're
And
we're just extracting what's already in place. Now, for some, using the example that you just gave, it might very well be why. You know, sometimes when you go into that uncharted territory with a client, they freeze. They're like, what just happened? And they don't really know how to process or deal with whatever's coming up. And what happens is the tone of the sessions can change because now they've been challenged in a new way, not in the way they're ready, right? They come in to work with you and they're like, I'm ready, coach, bring it on. And I'll even ask them, you ask any of my clients, I will ask them, so when I do the check-in, especially, do you want more challenge? Like, how are you feeling? Because again, think of the ledge. I don't want to push, right? I don't want it to feel like that. And it's usually great. But there are those people, those groups of people that are only willing to be challenged where they're comfortable being challenged, which is probably what you're referring to, right? Is like this person was like, yay, this is great. But don't take me down any hallways, dark corners that they don't want to do the dark work. So one of my clients said this the other day, and I was like mesmerized. I'm like, dark work. I love that. They want the yay, rah, rah coaching that I just don't even own a pom-pom. I just don't. You know?
Whereas I have many pom-poms and a plethora even. An
And what
excess of
color are they?
pom-poms.
Yes.
No,
But you know what I'm saying?
I get exactly what you're saying. And I feel somewhat similarly. I do like to support my clients, but I also very much like to see them rising to the challenges that are in front of them and getting the success that they want. This isn't about me pushing them in a direction that they don't
Yeah.
want to go. It
Yeah.
is getting clear with them is like, where do you want to go? What would you like to get from this? And how
Mm.
can I best support you in getting there? I would honestly say, because most of the people who do come work with me do get some sort of sense that I'm the straight to business, no fluff kind of guy.
Yeah, don't let the accent fool you, folks.
Yeah, I like to get straight down into it. I'll have a little bit of the niceties. I'll ask you how your day was, but then we're getting to work.
Right.
And I want to have rapport, but I'm also going to get permission. If I feel I have to say something or give some feedback or comment that may be misconstrued or might
Mm.
be difficult for them to hear, I'm going to ask first and say, look, are you okay to get some feedback on this? It might
Yeah.
be a bit direct. You might be a bit uncomfortable with it. Are you okay, or shall we move on? I have to know that they're open to it and that they're coachable to that level.
Yeah. No, I think that we have to. Sometimes when we feel uneasy, we get the little signals, and we should be able to be
Yeah.
in that session and also reading the session at the same time, the energy of it. And sometimes you do have to take that pause as a coach and say, may I have permission to be super direct with you? And in no way, shape, or form is this a judgment. It's just, I'm curious. And then I wait for them to respond. And maybe once or twice I've had people say, no, I don't think I can handle any more direct Angie today. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I love
But
that.
do you come back to that at some point? Because that's the thing, that pain point I know is that's something that we need to revisit. And maybe we come about it in a different way.
Yeah. For me, the whole point of this is that if you're in coaching, I want to know why you're in coaching. And if I'm going to be working with you, it's because you want to grow. It's because you want to develop. You have goals. You have things you'd like to be, do you have great in your life? And you're maybe even looking for personal or professional transformation. Those would be the reasons that someone like Angie or myself would be working with you. And that's exactly what it should be. Fluffy coaching, maybe it does have a place somewhere, but what does it really do? I've never been of the mind where I want to be in a coaching session and not see anyone develop or grow or change. Just come and have a nice time and a nice chat together. That frustrates me so much. And I think any coach listening to this hopefully feels the same. It's like, and
Oh
if you
my
find
gosh, I
that
hope
happening in
so.
your coaching, I hope so too. If you find that happening in your coaching, it is a warning sign and you can do better. That's
Well, listen, you know what the thing is? I do this. This is a check-in, and this is something that I learned from, really, it was one of my mentors. And this person was the epitome of tough love coaching, like through and through. And it made me realize, I love that, but I can handle it, but it's a little too much for, I think, the general population. But one of the
Yeah.
things that this person said to me is, regardless of what you're charging, but let's say you're charging like $300, $400, $500 a session. Let's just say you're actually at that point. You know what? Was that a $500 cup of coffee you just had with this person? Because they don't need you for that. And she said, this is the
Yeah.
check-in. You have to say to yourself, was that a productive session? And again, let me go back for a second because I said I don't own any pom-poms. And that means I don't want to give up the impression that I don't support, because I absolutely support my clients in each and every session, no matter what's going on, no matter how difficult they can be. What I don't do is just have them come to every session like, yay, do you feel good? Is everything great? Do you love it? And no, because that's not what I'm here to do, like you were saying. And it was like this question mark of, well, how do I actually gauge that as a coach? It's tough. I know there are some coaches that will record sessions. Some coaches do it face to face. Some coaches do it on Zoom or something like that. Or some coaches do it over the phone.
These are all bumper stickers.
Just fucking killing me right now. Where did you go today? What happened to John? So
Coaches do it face to face. Goodness me.
I can't.
Carry
But do you
on,
know what I'm
Angie.
saying, right? Like,
Yeah, I do.
so what's the barometer that you use?
We're not there just to be a cheerleader. The support is different. It's like about holding a space for them
Sure.
and creating a safe space. There's a really beautiful book called Time to Think by Nancy Klein. And that's all about creating a space for people to be able to think and question. And I think that's important in coaching. And that's something I do feel that I'm good at doing with people. It's like, let's create a space. Let's ask the questions. I'm going to support you to some degree as well. I might get a little pom-pom out here or there if that's what I think you need. Like if I think you need a little bit of a boost, I'm going to try and give that to you as well.
Sure.
I can't do a backflip, unlike you, Angie, although yours are mostly accidental, but it's...
many years ago.
If I could, I certainly would. But we do want to see you grow and develop. That's the whole point of being in coaching. And to a degree, my experience is this. Clients tend to prefer the coaches who are more direct, who tell it like it is, who are going to give them some real talk. You know, in the 1950s, they used to call it in the US, real talk was solid dick. Give them some solid dick. Maybe.
What? I never heard
give
that.
You some solid dick. I know. I love that expression.
We have to talk.
We're going to give you some real talk. We're going to be authentic in our conversation. We're willing to go deep with this, but we're also checking in, especially if we can see you, but certainly if we can at least hear you. We're checking into how you're doing emotionally during the conversation as well.
You know what's interesting? And this came to me just now as you were talking. I was coaching somebody. It was actually in a training. It wasn't an actual client of mine. And this is something that it was a big aha. It was in the last few years. So it wasn't at the beginning of my coaching career. And it was such an interesting perspective. And it has stuck with me forever. And so we talk about not being judgmental, right? And sometimes it's hard. And maybe that's a whole other session, right? But in terms of how you're coaching and what you do or say to support your client. And interestingly, while I was having sessions with this person, like I said, it was a training that we were going through, a certification. And I said, oh, that's really great. Like it was like an accountability follow-up. And I was like, oh, so in this case, it would be, John, that's really awesome that you did that. So we went through the whole session. And at the end, we had to give feedback. And this person said to me, hey, Angie, are you open to hearing some not so positive feedback? And I was like, okay. And they said to me, it was a woman. She said, you know what? I felt judged. And I was like, shocked. I was like, what do you mean? And she said, when you told me how awesome that was, you're telling me. And I looked at her, I could remember the confused look on my face, even though I couldn't see it, I could feel it. And I go, what do you mean? And she said to me, you telling me that I'm awesome may sound great, but it's still a judgment. You're still judging me in a good way. And I thought, oh my goodness, that was a real moment for me to learn how to be careful. Because just because I was saying something like, that's awesome, or I'm so proud of you that you did that, not good, right? Not a good look. And it really takes a lot to stay aware of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like that's helped me in my coaching was learning about, mostly from Carol Dweck's book on mindset and growth mindset,
Mm,
and understanding that sometimes when we give people praise just because they've done something is
mm,
not always a good way to do it. It's actually
yeah.
better to give people the praise. Oh, look, you obviously you've worked really hard on that, so good job. Well done putting in all that effort, which is something you can say whether they win or lose, right? I mean, it's like you worked really hard on that, because that's really what's more important anyway. And something from the sort of ancient Greeks, it was really about understanding what a real compliment is. And I forget
Mm,
which of the great philosophers it was, maybe Aristotle or Plato. So it was something like that. Should brush up on my classic. But a
perhaps.
real a real compliment is a compliment on someone's character, not "oh, you look nice" or "oh, that was good" or "oh, well, yeah, well done." But a real compliment is a compliment on someone's character, because that's who they are. That's the essence of them, and that's how they're showing up in their life. It's like, hey, that was really virtuous. So maybe that's a
Yeah.
misused word these days, but that's really what it's about. Complimenting those things that are somewhat unchangeable, that are less fleeting, that are the truth of somebody. That's more valuable.
I agree. And I think that in that moment, I realized that I was setting up, or I could perhaps be setting up my clients to be looking for my approval.
And
And that's like way off because nobody
oh
needs my
yeah,
approval. Who really cares what I think?
yes,
I have,
danger. Yes.
yeah, absolutely. And again, I would say that it happened very often, but I wouldn't even be able to go back all the years before this moment. And I thought, oh my gosh, all right, so what do I say or what do I do differently as I move forward? Because I do like to be direct, but I do like to offer some type of recognition, right? That, hey, you've done something that was really difficult because I don't want it to sound cold. So that was a really
Yeah.
tough shift for me because I was like, well, now how do I do this? Be authentic, right? About whatever it is that I'm saying without it turning into somehow, even if it's
Mm.
indirectly, creating a space where this person feels like they need my
Yeah.
praise or whatever. So, and
But
that's I
look,
think just part of
yeah.
it.
If that's coming in against somebody's imposter syndrome going wild, or their low self-esteem,
Mm,
it's getting bounced off anyway. It's not getting through anyway. Doesn't matter how many times that, oh, actually you're amazing, or no, don't listen to that voice in your head that's saying you're not good enough. It's like, well, you can say that to your blue in the face, but we're not actually
yeah.
dealing with it. It's just
Yeah.
gonna bounce off. It's like you can tell someone who thinks they're unattractive, you can tell them they're beautiful as much as you want. They're not gonna believe it until they start to get it for themselves and see it for
Sure.
themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the question is, I don't think there's a right answer for all the coaches out there, new people or people that have been in it
No.
for a minute. There's no real right way or
And you're
wrong
probably
way.
gonna get it wrong sometimes as well. That's certainly been my experience, and sounds like yours as well.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we get it a bit wrong, or we don't get those boundaries quite right. You're gonna learn those things, and unfortunately the best way to learn is from your own experience.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But I think it's important to decide once I realized that I was a coach, because we all know I didn't come into coaching as like, this is my choice. It just was there. But once I was aware of that and then became intentional, I thought to myself, what kind of a coach do I really want to be? I really made that
Mm.
intentional decision. And it was like, I want to get results. And how am I going to do that? Right. Well, I'm going to get results by being direct
Yeah.
and maybe pissing people off once in a while because I've had people come back and go, Angie, you're so pissing me off right now. And I'm like, oh, tell me.
But you know what? One of my favorite coaches in all the world, and I don't know all the coaches obviously, but one of my favorite coaches who I do know is a lady called Carrie Wilkerson, and I admire her immensely. And I've been lucky enough to be in coaching with her in group sessions. At least would love to have her as a one-to-one coach at some point as well. But the reason for that is she does the tough love, but she does it in such a mama bear kind of way that you feel genuinely cared about. And it's like, that's something that I really strive for in my own coaching. Is I aim to be more like that. I want you to feel cared about as my
Yeah.
client, and but I also want you to feel challenged, to feel like you're being given what you need to be
Mm,
able to go forward and do what you need to do and show up for yourself. And don't just say you're going to do stuff, which I think is
right.
one of the biggest things in coaching, right? People will say all this stuff, but if you're not actually going out and doing it, then that's where we have some things that you need. You maybe need those nudges, those encouragements, the pushes, or the tough love to just say, hey, get your shit together and get on with it.
Yeah, I think there's a stylistic thing that comes through. Every
Yeah.
day I'm in coaching, every single day I coach people. And although I might show up as Angie, whoever I am as a coach, I know that every single situation that comes to the present day, to that particular day, isn't, even though it could be familiar, it's never the same day twice. So you really have to be able to be loving. And I do say that to people, like I'm saying this to you with love and respect, right? And I mean that. And I don't say it as coldly as I just did, as a matter of fact. But I think it's really showing up authentically in that moment. And it's not just a rapport. You've built the rapport, you hope, but I think putting that human element into it is very important, because some coaches, I think, work too hard maybe at keeping up. I call it that plexiglass. I can still see
Yeah.
you, but we're only going to get so close.
Yeah.
I don't really put that up in every situation. I want them to feel connected to me, because that's how I'm creating that safe space for them. But I understand that people listening might feel like, are you kidding? No, you have to keep that curtain up. Not a believer in that.
There is a space, I think, for even more provocative coaching than you and I would probably do. And for the people who perhaps are the ones who really just find themselves incapable of getting up off their ass and doing something,
Mm-hmm.
that maybe provocation is the thing that's going to help get them there. But it still has to be permission based. It's like, you're not just going to show up on a call and kind of get abused. And it's not even about that. It's still about taking what's in the conversation, taking what's there, but really coloring outside the lines in your coaching session to
Yeah.
that degree. And that is to get specific results from people who are either in apathy or inaction or procrastination levels that they're just not moving at all. I think
Mm,
those are the cases where poking the bear is valid and justified and still needs to be done with permission. If they want to change that, if they want to get out of it, you need flexibility is where you can go as a coach to be able to help them do that, because niceties are not going to do it.
mm-mm.
Cheerleading, pom-poms, not going to do it.
I agree. I agree. It's about striking the right balance.
Cool. I have known coaches who are kind of mean with their coaching and sometimes a bit rude to the clients as well. Yes, they can still sometimes get results, but I don't think people are generally going to want to work with them long term. And the coach-client relationship is that it is a relationship, but whilst it doesn't always have to be butterflies and candy floss, it does need to have other elements to it as well. But yeah,
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you know what, I think it just depends. I've had some clients, as I'm sitting here reflecting, I definitely have had some clients who, what I consider to be a little bit more of the cheerleading space, they could not handle. Like, they thought that was tough. They thought that was direct and tough coaching. And
yeah,
again, perception. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I could say, she's in my head, like, that's nowhere near tough love, right? Or tough coaching, right? But, it's how the client is receiving you and perceiving your approach. And for that
yeah,
reason, I think that I've had to adjust. Actually, and it's funny too, as I'm thinking about it, and I'm not saying it's because of this, but what I definitely just realized is that these were younger people, right? Maybe mid to late 20s, even a little bit into their early 30s. And they were not ready for that kind of coaching. They were not ready for it. I did have to put on the kid gloves a little bit more and do that provocation from a different angle. I had to be
yeah.
indirectly direct. Yeah. go figure that one out. But do you know what I mean? Because what I perceive as that direct and challenging coaching, they couldn't handle it. They just couldn't handle it.
This is probably the thing we'll finish up on, but part of me thinks that sometimes the tough love stuff is easier in a group coaching setting than a one-to-one, because you don't need to address the individual. You can address the groups, and nobody is like, you're talking just to me. They were like, oh, you're kind of talking to all of us. We're not alone in this. It's like, I'm not being singled out here. I'm not being picked on. And sometimes I think that those tough love messages can be more impactful in group settings. That's one of my perspectives.
I just want to ask you a quick question on that. I know we're going to wrap up, but so in the one-to-one space, because I hear what you're saying about how it's easier to make this an overarching message in a group coaching scenario. But in that one-to-one, have you ever used the word we? And I mean, and we meaning sometimes we as human beings get lost in whatever. I've done that.
Sure.
Right? So that it's not like I'm pointing the finger and I'm saying we're all imperfect, and I will use that in one-to-one. Do you do that?
That and stories, yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes it's not the best way to just get direct on them and say, this is what you need to do, or this is where you're going wrong, as that's not really necessarily helpful. Yeah. And it's possibly not really what you're there for as a coach as well. So I think you can make the pills go down with a bit of a spoonful of sugar by allowing a bit of detachment. Those bitter pills can be swallowed.
I'm about to say.
I'm ready for my Disney marathon now. But we get that.
Awesome. Great perspective today, John.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun conversation. I wonder what we'll talk about next.
Yeah, me too.
But we'll be back. We'll be talking more about what goes on in the coaching sessions and, of course, the business of coaching. If you have questions for us, or if you have input on what we've been talking about, if you'd like to add to the conversation, or if you think you'd be a great guest for us to invite on the show, then let us know. Contact us, leave us a voicemail. You can do that at speakpipe.com/the Coaching Clinic Podcast. You'll find the link for us in the show notes. You can leave us a quick voicemail there. And if you like it, we might just feature you on the show. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, with more fun coaching conversations. We'll look forward to seeing you there.
Take care.